Hi, hello, and welcome to the Sports Exchange. My name is Carole Beckford. Over the last couple of episodes, we have spoken about just about everything in sport. We've talked about venues, events, production, and we're getting down to the end of the season. Of course, I couldn't end without having my very good friend, former boss, Dave Cameron, and he's here in studio with us to talk about, of course, cricket and some other things. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hi, Carol. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope I can add some value to your program.
Let me just declare my hands right now. Dave, if you look at his shirt, you don't have to ask which school in Jamaica he went to. He's all decked out in purple, right? Anyway, that said, you were president of West Indies Cricket for 6 years. Tell us about the experience in terms of, from the context of a sport leader in the region.
Yeah, that I think is, everybody knows very well that was a very interesting time in our region. 6 years of leadership, but it started 6 years before that as vice president. And leading West Indies cricket, and because of this, the former success of cricket was really about everybody wanted to get back to the top without going through the process. I think we didn't understand how we became so good back in 1975, 1979. We won those two World Cups. And everybody is of the view that one person, the leader, can actually deliver results. And I think that is the challenge we have. And so in every aspect of the cricket, we keep believing that a one coach, the one president, can actually change the results.
Or you know, one player.
Or a one player. Or a one player. And that has been our challenge. And we have not been able to just agree that we need a system, a whole process. The leader is very important. That everything comes from the leader because everybody takes a cue from there. And that's what we were trying to do, to really get everybody to buy in to a system or a process of meritocracy first, and irrespective of where you're from, and to move the system forward.
Are you suggesting that meritocracy is still something that we can use to guide our processes with just about any form of leadership today?
Yes, Carol, most definitely, and especially in the public sector. In the private sector, we can always talk about that, but there's always, the system of entitlement, inheritance, etc. That you're not going to get around it, and it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. But I believe in the public sector, where the resources are from all of us, our taxpayers, etc., then we need to have more merit in how we choose persons for leadership and persons to deliver on our mandate.
Talk to me a little bit about your style of leadership. You talk about it being process driven and how successful you were in meeting some of your goals. I mean, pretty much people know what happened during those years, but talk to me a little bit about the processes that you had engaged and used to really put the cricket together.
Yeah, so when we decided to run for office, I was the first administration ever to put together a plan, a manifesto, whatever you want to call it, and that was to professionalize the game. And Carole, you're a big part of that. So again, thank you very much for all that work. And we basically delivered on it. How we were able to do that, again, we understood what we needed to do. We understood what the end product looked like, which was a professional system. We've been playing cricket at an amateur level for as long as we have been in the region, and we've been hoping that we'll beat the professional teams around the world. In about 1990, thereabout, most of the other teams around the world, the larger teams, became professional teams, started to have franchises, etc. And we've been trying to implement that since then. That was the biggest thing that we were able to do, in order to get players to start understanding their responsibility to the craft, to actually working every day and delivering on results, and that we could now hold them accountable. Fitness was a big part of it. So the processes were, now we had the opportunity to hold you accountable because we're paying you. You know, there is this, and then thanks for the opportunity. I need to dispel this view that my legacy was that I gave everybody now could eat a food. They could get a living. But that wasn't the objective. The objective was really to get persons into a place where they could practice and improve their craft. And if you pay them, then you could hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
And that was really where our processes started. We were fortunate to have gotten someone like Richard Pybus, who understood, and he's now Dr. Richard Pybus, having attained his PhD in performance management. And he was able to come in and kind of help us with that roadmap as to what does success look like from a sporting standpoint, and all the ingredients that we need to have in place in order to do it. And you know, we got some results from that.
From a monetary standpoint, what was the average yearly spend? Well, what was the budget like? Because, you know, this is a business program, so we have to contextualize the fact that we invested this amount of money. We had this amount of players and management and coaches. What was that budget like?
Carole, West Indies cricket is a massive business. Our annual budgets were just north of 50 million US dollars. And that is growing as we speak. The majority of it was spent on players. North of 60% of that was spent on players. Indirectly and directly. Salaries and of course accommodation, transportation is the biggest, those are the biggest ticket items we have for West Indies cricket. Simply because we're an island economy and we have to move everybody all over.
All over.
What we were able to do though is in that time, I think we've had the biggest impact. Prior to 2014, when we implemented the financial system that we put in place, we only had maybe 20, 25 players who would have benefited from that resource, and fewer coaches. Subsequent to that, within the franchise system, we now have north of 150 players, plus officials, and I always have to put that in because we recognize that if we didn't have better coaches, better umpires, officiating, administrators at all the levels, we now have CEOs within the system, then we're not going to move forward. And if you look at what has happened today with the A teams, the senior teams, we're now able to use coaches that have been developing from that within the system.
Right.
Prior to that, every time we needed a head coach, we had to go outside because we just didn't have anybody in the region that would have had the requisite experience to be able to promote to the next level.
All right, $50 million. So any investors out there kind of know what we're talking about with West Indies cricket. 2007, we had 10 venues. Some were built to suit the Cricket World Cup. Some were upgraded. Did we overbuild? And if so, what's your take? What's your perspective? Because venues are needed to...
Yeah, I think in some of the islands, we might have built the stadium a little bit outside of what was required. But the number of venues, I don't think we overbuilt in terms of numbers. Jamaica has a wonderful venue in Trelawney. Unfortunately, it hasn't been used as much. And the real reason for that is even when I was there, it's always challenging to take cricket from Sabina Park to Trelawney because you have constituent stakeholders at Sabina Park that you've promised cricket to, that have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, US dollars, in order to have a suite at Sabina Park, which is what has allowed us to run cricket in Jamaica. So, Carole, prior to me going to West Indies cricket, I was treasurer of Jamaica cricket for 9 years. And in that time, we fashioned agreements to have the suite holders own their suites at Sabina Park for 10 years increments. And part of the agreement was that we promised them
Cricket.
events.
Well, events.
Events. Yeah. Cricket being the biggest one, because that's the reason why they're there. and then additional events that they'll be able to host persons in their suites because it's part of their corporate hospitality, and that they could use these suites outside of cricket because we would maintain the area, and it could have meetings, trainings, etc. down there. So we, as the organization, as the entity, the JCA, had to ensure that we had enough events to justify charging the clients. My understanding now is that a lot of that has changed and a lot of the suite holders have given up the suites because they're just not getting enough cricket. And that was part of the value proposition. That's how we were able to move Jamaica cricket from literal bankruptcy when we took over in 1999 to leaving north of $1 million in the bank account when I admitted office in 2007.
Nice turn that was from Warner Brown.
Bring home the happiness. Bring home the Delect goodness. Delect full of deliciousness. Make every meal delicious with Delect. From pasta happiness to happiness and dumpling. When last you add some happiness to your rice and peas? Delicious food makes you happy, and that's what Delect promises you. Bring home the happiness. Bring home the Delect goodness. Your recipe for happiness.
Burrito's flagship location in New Kingston is at 15 St. Lucia Way. Mark Gilzine and his team are dedicated to creating your ideal game plan to revolutionize your relationship with money. We are proud of our many wins, which include bolstering our capital base to be among the strongest in the industry and facilitating the purchase of 3 U.S. companies by a Jamaican firm. We're 45 years and going strong, changing the game and moving the financial revolution forward.
Been coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I picked it up for you. But tell me something. Why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
So we have had World Cup cricket in the region. 2007, I think we had our T20 in 2010.
T20 in 2010. We had ladies in 2018.
Right.
Yeah, so we've had quite a few events, and now World Cup, World T20 is coming back in 2024.
Is that going to happen? I've seen some reports that they're having some issues with, well, it's the Americas, so to speak.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the USA and West Indies.
West Indies.
My understanding is, I've also seen those reports, but I've also seen a report from the ICC denying that there's no such.
Oh, okay.
But I would caution and just to say that we're maybe 12 months or less away, and we have not seen any real bids or venues for this event. And so I'm a little cautious to say that, you know, it's going to happen. I know for a fact, however, that the USA is struggling to have quality venues. There are only 2 accredited venues at this point in time. And so that is part of the challenge, one in Texas and one in Florida.
Okay. Travel. Travel is a massive problem in the Caribbean and has really hampered, probably cost us too much of that massive budget that we have. How has that affected movement of athletes across I mean, the Treaty of Shagarama says they must be able to move, which is a whole other program.
Yes.
Because
yes.
now we have some people who can't go to other regions because governments have shifted and have turned from those agreements. But how has travel really, well, this affected sports in the region?
Yeah, well, travel. That is the biggest single ticket item in all our budgets annually. As you know, first thing, the size of the aircrafts that move throughout the region is also an issue. It means that a lot of the times players' bags were left behind, challenges. Now, you're aware, since, can't remember when Owen Arthur passed on, must have been 2020, 2021, Leat is no more. So it's worse now. Jamaica has the best air service.
And we're not getting any cricket.
And we're not getting any cricket. It's almost impossible to get from Dominica to St. Kitts within the same day. Yes, currently. Unless you fly to Miami, because Dominica has direct flights now from Miami. Unless you fly to Miami and then fly back from Miami to St. Kitts, which would be the next day. That's how bad the travel within the region. Now, it's economics, Carole. And I remember this conversation with the Right Honorable Owen Arthur. As a matter of fact, the day he got sick, and he was complaining about the whole layout issue, and that St. Lucia, as an example, had not contributed to the running of layout. And my view to him was always, is that you're not running it as a business, you're running it as a social enterprise.
Yeah.
And until you do that, you're going to have a challenge. So if you stop going to St. Lucia, because he was bemoaning the fact that, St. Lucia was spending how much millions of dollars paying American Airlines to come in there, but they refused to contribute to
a regional.
Well, I said because you're running it as a social program. My view, run it as a business, and the returns you get from that, you then use it to support the social programs. But when you're running it and you go to CARICOM every month and you beg for resources, then it's not going to happen. But if you say to St. Lucia, we're not coming to St. Lucia anymore because we simply, you're not supporting it, I'm sure that things would happen. But he had a different view, and there's no more layout, and it's no worse than it ever was.
Oh, yeah. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership in sports in the region. We have 14 or 15 ministers of sport throughout the Caribbean. They're all mixed with different portfolios in different nations. But give me a general view about sport in the region in particular, not just cricket now, but generally. Let's look back a decade and then
Well, Carole, let me give you my perspective on sports. And you know a lot about my history. I'm here talking to you because of sports. Sports has given me an opportunity to get an education and to mix sports with education, and hence the reason I've grown to become a leader within cricket and sports in general. But if you look at our societies across the region, and in Jamaica in particular, our countries are known because of our sportsmen. So it's a no-brainer to think that if you're going to attract investors into our countries, then sports and sporting infrastructure are a big, huge part of what we do. And I always say it anecdotally, that tell me all of these great companies that are on the stock exchange. If you go outside of Jamaica and ask anybody about who these companies are, who the persons are, if they know anybody, they don't care. They come to Jamaica because of Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, Veronica Campbell-Brown, and go on and on and on and on and on and on. And sports and entertainment gives us, the entire region, the greatest opportunity to reach the masses. Right?
Yeah, that's social inclusion.
Social inclusion.
Everybody loves music. Everybody loves sports.
Everybody loves sports, and it's been said, when there's an Olympic 100-meter finals, we have no crime on that day. So, to me, and I've been trying to find a way to get the powers that be within Jamaica to actually put numbers to that. What is the social impact of sports on our society, and why is there not an industry? So the next step now, Carole, is we need to have an industry, and I think that's where the ministers are missing out. Of all whispers, there's no industry for sports and entertainment.
Well, first of all, you have to define what that industry will look like.
Absolutely.
What are the tools of trade? And I mean, the templates are there. You know how I feel about that.
That's correct.
But in terms of leadership, have we swayed away from, are the way how we select sport leaders in the region the best way?
Are the way we select leaders in the region the best way?
All right, we're talking about sport. We're not trying to fix the political.
No, but I always say you can't leave. You can't move away from the society to just go to sport. Sport is a microcosm of the system. And so what happened, Carole, is that the system, our sporting infrastructure was built on sugar, banana, bauxite. Our first sporting leaders were managers within those industries.
Farm managers, yeah.
Correct. And similarly, they were also political leaders among some of those things. Now, all of that has changed. Our entire economy, volunteerism, etc. has changed. So that's why we have a different type of leadership, because a lot of those persons in leadership have filled a void within their communities. And they've come up through the system. Our job, you and I, who have a little bit of formal training, education, and some sports, is to help those who have gotten to the position of leadership to see all the other aspects of what running an organization looks like. Because that's the issue. The issue is that it's the business, the sport is one thing. I'm not going to claim to be able to get you to play football or cricket.
Or cricket, right.
But it's an organization that you're running, of which the product is the sport.
All right, can I put you on the spot a little bit? If you were a minister of sport, I'm not going to say Jamaica, of any other region, tell me some of the things that you would do in the short term to even capture the imagination of businesses, since we're on the business program.
Well, the first thing is I would capture, I'd emulate what Trinidad has done. And Trinidad has a policy where they give a tax incentive for companies that invest in sports, directly in sports and infrastructure. And I would add entertainment to that, culture. And what it is don't quote me on the number, says if you give $10 million, we'll give you up to 30 million, 3 times, with a cap. So it's not like, if you invest 10 billion, then we're going to give you 30 billion in tax incentives. That to me would change how companies now view their investment in sport and entertainment. Because everybody you go to now, especially the companies on the Stock Exchange, they say that, well, what's the value proposition?
Oh yeah.
And how many persons are going to watch this and whatever. And there's the understanding that you're building the country. And you're giving all those youths, boys, girls, an opportunity to engage in something that could change their perspective.
Yeah, because they get brand association that invests in the country. Because when a company gives you a shoe contract.
Absolutely.
And they give you $100,000 a year.
Absolutely. So that would be the first place.
Okay.
And with that way, we could then start to look at improving and increasing our infrastructure. Carole, all the infrastructure for this country and cricket was built, maintained by plantations and the bauxite. Where are those industries today? So when someone asks you, what's the issue with cricket and why we're not playing enough cricket, and where's the investment at that level that used to be there? And we have less schools playing Headley Cup today because of it, because they have nowhere to play.
Right, yeah. But those grounds they're still available.
Somebody has to maintain them. There's a massive cost.
That's a job for a curator or a venue manager, which is not seen as even an important part of a broader sport industry.
And so the bauxite, the sugar, the banana used to maintain these facilities and just have the community and all the schools used to use them.
All right, so question. What would you do then? In other words, you know those facilities are available. How would you attract, yes, we talk about the incentives, but can we revive those facilities? Because they're still, even although they're poorly maintained, they're still some of the best fields and they're available.
They're available.
Yorton, for example, the Yorton Bauxite Company, we played an under-15 cricket tournament there a few years ago. And it was probably one of the best. We didn't play at the big stadiums, clearly, but Yorton is still one of the best fields around.
And I'm saying you have to incentivize the companies in the area, the community to invest.
They're
just not gonna see that you playing a corner league match, how that is gonna affect the bakery, for example, in Yorton that everybody used to stop and buy bread at. Why would I invest in this thing when
as a sporting fan, when I go to a game, I have a few drinks, I buy food, soup, I spend the money in the community.
Of course.
And so, I mean, I hate to get granular, but just walk me through that day. There's a venue in a place, right? Mm-hmm. And you're saying to a business, put $10 million up front. How do you make it back?
Well, they're not looking to make it back. This is your investment in the community. Mm-hmm. But they will, you have $100 million that you need to pay the taxes to the government. Mm-hmm. You will get a tax break of 30 million, so you only need to pay the government 70. Mm-hmm. But you've invested directly into the community. Your brand equity is there. And you've now impacted thousands of lives. I must mention the STAR program that I see my friend Julian and Keith that have started. It's Program STAR, is it called?
Project STAR.
Project STAR. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very good initiative. But how do we get that right across Jamaica in very short time? That's $100 million is a drop in the bucket for what is required to be able to start to stem some of the issues we have, the social issues we have in Jamaica.
Well, one element of Project STAR can be a sporting event, a sports day for our community at the end of each quarter. The problem is not a problem. Project STAR has now come in to enhance work that agencies of government have as their core responsibility and they have not been doing.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, Carole, my approach is how do we engage private sector? So government is there and government will do what they can with what they have. But I think for us to really make the change where sports is concerned, and I hate to always going back to entertainment because it's a...
No, it is. Actually, S&E is a...
Yeah, it's part of... Sports is part of entertainment.
Entertainment, right.
We have to engage the private sector. And we're doing well as business-wise, finance, which includes banking, insurances, whatever. And I don't believe that the leaders in those industries understand their responsibility to the country as a whole. And that's not going to happen overnight. But if we can find a mechanism where the Minister of Finance sees the value how the Prime Ministers felt about what we're doing, because, again, we were trying to run a professional sport.
Not a political organization.
Right, and so.
All right, I couldn't let you go without, first of all, your favorite World Cup football team outside of Jamaica.
That would have to be one, Brazil.
All right, favorite professional football team?
Arsenal.
Oh dear. Any other professional sport you would support?
Absolutely. I am a Warriors fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's about it.
And the last question before you go. If there's one professional athlete that you have not yet met that you'd like to meet, who would that be?
Michael.
Michael Jordan?
Yes.
Oh, that's what Delia said on her program too.
Absolutely.
Oh
I'd love to understand what he's built a golf course. That's a man. He's built a golf course designed for himself. and his friends.
That's for another program, Mr. Cameron. Thank you so much for watching the Sports Exchange. This has been an exciting conversation with Dave Cameron, former president of West Indies Cricket. He's now, what do you call it? He's consulting with sports, so feel free to call him up. This has been exciting, and until such time, we'll talk again. The next episode will be our finale for this season, and we're going to have an exciting sports quiz. And so we're going to have two people who will go against each other for who knows sports best. Until next time, my name is Carole Beckford. Walk good.